Hey everyone, welcome back to another video. This is the final lab reflection video for systems programming. I'm going to reflect on the final two labs of this class and then get ready for my next class. So let's get started. In the final week of systems programming, I had the final two labs, labs 8 and 9. For lab 8 was on the rule of 3. Lab 9 was on pointers, essentially getting more practice with using pointers. For the lab 8, with it being on the rule of 3, and with the rule of 3, I had to put these three things: the assignment operator, the copy constructor, and a deconstructor. And for this lab, I had to create a couple of things. I had to create headers and CPP files for a base class, for an employee class, and for a student class, and then a separate main CPP class for 3 different functions. And these are the directions here. For certain things, I had to put, like for main, for example, I had to put these 3 functions: one for add record, one for display records, and then one to duplicate the records. And the overall theme for this lab was to basically have me put in a type of name, a first and last name for an employee and a first and last name for a student. And then for the employees, I had to put their salary, and then the students, the GPAs and all that. And then I had to make sure that information I would be able to add that information to the vectors and then be able to display that information that I typed in, and then also be able to duplicate that information multiple times for as many times as I wanted to. And as far as the demo for this one, everything worked out good for the most part. I was able to add the information for both employee and students, and both did display. And then for duplicate record, for that one I thought I was doing it wrong at first, and that's why I ended up putting like add 1 to duplicate record and all that, and then just type 1 and then it would duplicate it. And at first, as you could see, it doesn't show that it's duplicated. It only shows the duplication once I am about to exit this program. And here you go, I exit the program and there's the duplication of the records. And then that's basically it for lab 4. And then lab 9 was on having to use pointers and practicing using pointers, with also having to use dynamic memory and not having to use dynamic memory. And this one was just putting everything all into one main CPP file and following the directions, having to add the logic parts for each of the functions that they give you. And then the final thing to do was to create 2 separate header and CPP files for 2 triangle classes. And then in the main CPP file, declaring variables for them 2 triangle classes, and then having to use the pushback method to add them triangles back into their vectors, and then looping, and then putting their area onto the screen. And that's it. That was both final labs. My final grade for this class was a 95/35. I got my A back, and I'm excited that I did. And now I just have to prepare for my first project and portfolio class. I have no idea what to expect, but hope you guys will continue to follow along in my education journey at Full Sail.